Hey, good evening guys, hope you guys are doing quite well. This evening we shall be covering a very interesting subject which a lot of people ask me for some reason, is what is a good interior setup to get your studio going. So this would include a backdrop, light stand, lighting kit, all types of stuff that you would require to set up and actually run a nice little starting photography studio. So not only that, but today we're buying all the bits we require from camera stuff. They sent me a shirt. That is awesome. So we'll be covering how to select the correct gear for your photography studio on a budget. I think we're going to aim for about 10,000 total, give or take a little bit in regards to getting your lights, backdrop stand, light stands, all the bits you would require to get your studio running and getting everything going. And we will also be putting our money where our mouth is and buying all the bits from camera stuff. Because I don't know, I like it. I can get everything that I require from one place, just makes things nice and easy. So let's jump straight into the gear that you would require to get your studio running. Okay, so the first bit of kit we're going to look at is your backdrop stand kit. Now, camera stuff, as the shirt says, they've got this really nice background kit or background stand kit from Newer. And this background stand kit includes your two stands for your backdrop, as well as your beam that goes across where you can put up your cloth or your paper or any type of backdrop material that you would require. The nice thing about this is it only costs you $1,300 to buy this. So that makes it extremely affordable to get your entire background kit set up. Now the nice thing is it comes with segments. So let me show you. And open this up. So it comes with these little segments, so 4 of them, so you can make it quite nice and long, or you can make it nice and short for headshots. Actually, for headshots, what I do is I just take 2 of these little segments, put them together and add them onto the light stands included, or backdrop stands included in this case specifically, and that gives me a nice little area where I can actually just use the backdrop kit. Let me just put that down. Where I can use the backdrop kit with just 2 of these bars. One makes it nice and easy, and then I've got my headshot area for my studio, because it allows me to have a very small footprint for my backdrop, which just makes it easier to work with clients for headshots and things as such as well. And it's really important that because I'm setting up a studio, that I keep my costs as low as possible to get started, so I can make money. Now the best way to start is to get a backdrop stand kit, which includes all the bits you would require to get started, and along with this you can simply just grab a backdrop that you would require. As an example, you can either grab a colored paper backdrop or a cloth backdrop. Now cloth is very cheap. It's very cheap compared to your paper backdrops. As an example, I like to use a grey cloth backdrop because it just works easier for me, because with grey I can either add a bit of light to it, get it nice and white, or take light away from it, get it nice and dark. It's just personal taste. I like grey. You might like white, you might like pink, you might like whatever. But the nice thing is, by buying a affordable backdrop stand kit, it allows you to spend a little bit of money and get the backdrop that you would require to work with your clients. In this specific case, I grabbed the Newer background backdrop kit from Camera Stuff for about $1,300. Very cheap. I added another $300 on that for my grey cloth, which I will put a picture up somewhere for you, and we'll also keep track of all the different costs of all the different bits as well, because once we round out the entire kit, you'll see that the cost is actually very low to get yourself started with running your own studio, or getting all the bits you would require to run your own studio for headshots as well as full body lengths. Now for full body lengths, this backdrop kit from Newer does actually go, I think it was 3 meters wide, and you can bring it up to about 3 meters tall as well, I think 2.8 meters tall, so it is quite big. So you can add the very long paper rolls to it to make it a nice full body studio kit. But if your studio is small, like my office, which is only about 3 meters wide by itself, then just using 2 of these segments means that I can set up an entire headshot studio in a very small footprint in my own office or in my studio, or even on a client's premises. What I'll do is at the end of the video, or at the end of getting all of our bits, I'll add in some video where I actually set up and use the entire studio kit at a client's premises, so you can have a look and see just how easy it is to use all the bits and pieces. So that's our backdrop kit. Now let's go to the next bit that we would require to get our studio set up and running. So now after the backdrop, we do require a main light source modifier, because we do want a softbox for this entire kit, because the softboxes are very nice and versatile, and they don't make them as much more versatile as Godox. Yeah, we like Godox. We do like them so much. So this specific kit is the Godox 80 by 80 foldable softbox. Now it comes in a little bag like this, which is nice for carrying around, and it includes your softbox, diffusion panel. It also includes a grid to help cut down your light, and it includes one very important bit, which is your S bracket. Now let me show you what that is. Here we go. Put down the softbox. So this is your Godox S bracket. This is your bread and butter when you're working with your lights, because this allows you to put your light on the inside, and it allows you to put your modifier in front of it, as well as it allows you to attach it to a light stand, and it also takes umbrellas. Extremely handy to have one of these. I own many of these because these are really handy. Also, if you have a very oddly sized flash or strobe, you can just remove the inside and you've got a bigger hole. That's what she said. But yes, so this is a really awesome bit to get free with your softbox. Now the softbox itself comes inside a bag, inside another bag. This is 80 by 80, so it is quite big, but we want big because we want to control the light. So it comes nice and folded like this, and you can just simply open it up. It becomes quite big, and then from here you can just open up it again, and you see it's nice and silver on the inside, and this becomes your entire softbox, which is so damn awesome. And the entire Godox kit with the softbox, the S bracket, because this thing is gold, and all that comes in at only 1,000, double check the price, $1,600. And that is your main light source modifier, because we will take this, add it to the S bracket, and then we've got our light source, which is very awesome, because we require this light source modifier, the main one in this case, so we can just illuminate our subjects. Oh, so nice. But yes, I would definitely recommend the 80 by 80 softbox from Godox, the kit, because it comes with the S bracket, which is very important. It also comes with a nice little travel bag and a whole bunch of other stuff. But the travel bag is really cool because it's nice and small, keeps all your stuff together, just makes it easier to move with. So yes, we've covered our backdrop, and this is now our main light source. That's 2 things you require for your studio setup. We have a few more to go, so let's jump over to the next one, which is your light stand. Okay, light stands. Light stands are very important because they keep your lights in the sky and away from your subjects. Not only that, but it is actually advised, or I would say, spend a little bit more on a light stand. Get a nice heavy duty light stand, just in case, because you want to make sure that your light is nice and secure on a decent light stand. Now Camera Stuff, they sell a, double check it, a hollow light stand, 2.5 meter, which is quite high, but it's a heavy duty light stand for $700. That's awesome, because that heavy duty light stand has a very nice large footprint at the bottom, which allows you to use it just so nice. Currently I'm using that specific light stand to my right hand side with a Godox SL60 on it to illuminate this video so you guys can see me. And yes, I use a lot of them. I've got one here and a couple more in the studio outside, but I do recommend that you spend the money and get a heavy duty light stand. Yes, you can buy the little cheapy ones like this one. Let me just pick it up. Come here. Like this one, they are super cheap, but I would not recommend you buy one of those. simply for the fact that you're putting weight on it and you want to keep your lights safe. And to keep your lights safe, you need to make sure you use a heavy duty light stand. For $700 you cannot go wrong with just grabbing a heavy duty light stand, just calling it a day, and all your stuff's nice and safe up in the sky where you want it, where you need it, and it just makes your life so much easier. Plus it folds down to a nice little small size, so it's easy to carry as well. So everything in this entire kit is very easy and very small to carry because we like nice and small and portable things. So yes, we've now covered our backdrop, our main light source modifier, as well as the light stand that I would recommend you get at a very decent price. So the next thing we need to now cover is our light source, actually the light that we will be using to create light in our scene, because that is very important. We need a decent, versatile and affordable light to get that sorted. So let's see which light fits into our budget. Okay, so let's talk about light sources. Now there's a whole bunch of different lights that you can buy, but I would personally recommend spending a little bit more money to grab yourself a Godox 8200 Pro. I have owned many of these and I will continue to own many of them because they are just so versatile and really good value for money. So what you get inside your Godox 8200 Pro bag, carry case thing, it's very nice. You get the Godox 8200 Pro itself, but you also get one attachment which is really awesome and which allows you to work very well with light modifiers. That is the bulb attachment, like this. So what this does is, instead of giving you a very straight focused beam of light which you would get from a speed light, this now spreads the light out very large area and just works so much better. So as an example, the 8200 Pro does come with a speed light head, but you can just swap that out by just removing it from 8200 like that, and then you just take your bulb attachment and just pop it on like that. Nice, easy and fast. So now we've gone from a speed light configuration to a bulb configuration, and the bulb configuration is extremely handy for if you're working with softboxes and light modifiers, because it allows you to have a very large spread of light. So we just pop a battery in, batteries in, give it some power, just put the box down and we can flash this behind my head. Well, that's nice, that's nice. So bulb attachment, really awesome, because this allows you to basically switch it off, remove the battery again, because it allows you to work easily with light modifiers. And we are using the Godox 80x80 softbox for our main light modifier. So the 8200 with the bulb attachment goes into that and it just works so nicely. But you might be asking yourself, how will this fit onto the softbox? Well, that's quite easy. Remember, the Godox 80x80 softbox does come with your S2 bracket. Now the reason the S2 bracket is so nice, we can take the S2 bracket, we can take our Godox 8200, we can make them one, just like this. Just tighten down the little screw at the top so the flash doesn't fall out. There we go, nice and easy. And then your light modifier just goes on the front of it, and this just goes onto a light stand. As easy as pie. Now the Godox 8200 does go for about 8,500. It is my recommendation to get one of these because they are just so easy to use, plus because it comes with a bulb as well as a normal flash head, it just makes it a little bit more versatile compared to your normal speed lights and such as well. But you can also use, as an example, with this entire stereo setup, the Godox V1 flash, which is also a really good flash. It has a round flash head instead of a normal flat flash head like this. It's got a round one. What I'll do is I will put a picture of the Godox V1 up for you with the way that the flash head looks compared to one of these little flat flash heads that you normally get. Now the V1 is about $4,500, much more cost effective compared to the 8200, but remember, the 8200 Pro does deliver more power, as well as it comes with a bulb attachment, which is very handy because that allows us to control the light much better, as well as to scale it up in the future is much easier as well. Plus the 8200 comes with a whole bunch of weird and fun little light modifiers and stuff you can buy for it. You can buy a round head attachment for it, you can buy a off flash body attachment for it as well, which basically takes your 8200 Pro. Let's take it out of the S bracket. Come on, go out the S bracket. Cool. So you can take your 8200 Pro, you can get an attachment for it which will extend via cable from the body to the flash head. What this is handy for is if this is outside in the wind with your light modifier and stuff, it might be a little bit top heavy or such, but you can make it lighter by simply just adding a little cable onto it. Very nice, very versatile light modifier. For the money you spend on it, it is actually not that bad at all, and I would always recommend the 8200 for anybody because it's just such a nice and versatile, very good value for money, right? Actually, alternatively, you can also look at the Godox V1 for a speed light, or the Godox 860 V2, also very awesome speed light. But if you are going to be using mains powered, this means non-battery operated flash systems like normal studio strobes, then you can look at something like the Godox 200 watt or 300 watt lights. I'll just put up a picture of them. They are even cheaper, but then you lose the ability to go battery powered, unfortunately. So if you know your studio is going to be mains powered all the time, then grab one of those lights instead. They will save you some money, but they will not be as versatile or as movable as a battery powered flash. I just like the battery powered ones because this allows me to take this, go outside, do whatever on location. Just a little bit more easier to do, especially for load shedding. You know that thing we get where they switch your power off? Yeah, that sucks, but you can get around that by using a battery powered flash, which is why it's just so much easier and better to use them. So that covers our main light source. Now we have got one more thing that we need to buy to finish our studio setup. We've got our backdrop cloth, light stand, main light source modifier, which I do like, by the way. I love the Godox 80x80. Very nice, I like it. But now we need to add one more piece of light modifying tool to get this entire setup running and working correctly. Okay, and the final piece we need to add to our entire very affordable studio setup is a curved reflector. Now a curved reflector is cool. Instead of having a flat surface that bounces light back at your subject, this is a curved reflector. It is big, the one I got, so I can't really show it to you, but I'll show it to you in the setup video after this segment. The nice thing about a curved reflector is, due to the fact that it does have a curve to it, it fills in the shadows on your subject very nicely. So you can have your main light above your subject, shooting at your subject to illuminate your subject, but then you will still have shadows on specific areas of your subject. To fill in those shadows, a lot of people simply go into Lightroom or Photoshop and take the shadow slider and pull it all the way up. Problem of that is it looks very unnatural and doesn't really fit very well into all the photo editing and things that you would like to do, because it does make everything just look a little bit flat. But if you use the curved reflector, it will still fill in the shadows, but it will do it in a very natural way, which is important because we want nice looking natural portraits with good light. We like good light. So the curved reflector comes from Camera Stuff, as always, and goes for about $1,900 more or less, and it is really nice. I got one specifically for the studio setup. It comes with this really cool light stand, which is very tiny when you pack it up, but you literally just assemble it. I want to show you this. This is a really interesting light stand that it comes with, and it has little feet like this. There you go, and that's your light stand for the curved reflector. Very nice and small, very easy footprint to work with, and you just pop your curved reflector on that as well. To assemble the curved reflector, it is something that you will need to practice. It's a pain in the to get set up. The first few times I peed myself. I was very annoyed because it's so annoying to set up, But once you get it down, you can set up your entire studio in like 5 minutes, very easily, very nicely. And because it's not that expensive, it works quite well. It fits very well into our nice and affordable studio setup. Now, you can do the same thing with a 5-in-1 reflector. But remember, a 5-in-1 reflector only comes with the 5-in-1 reflector. It doesn't come with a light stand. It doesn't come with a reflector holder. You can buy a 5-in-1 reflector for, I think it's 450 bucks, give or take, a bit more, bit less, depending on the size you go. But then you still need to buy a light stand for it, add another 700, as well as you need the specific arm that holds it as well, another 700. So at the end of the day, it comes out to a little bit cheaper than a curved reflector, but a curved reflector comes with everything you need anyway, so I would just go with that. Works very nice in a studio because you can have your light up here, curved reflector down here, take a photo, get all your nice, oh so nice, natural looking full light, and you're good to go. It does come with silver and white. I would use the silver reflective side because your light will be diffused anyway with the white diffusion panel inside the softbox, which means light will be nice and soft. So when you reflect that light back, if you use the white reflective side, it will not bounce as much light back, but the silver side is really nice for bouncing that soft light back at your subject. It's silver, it is much more reflective. Plus the silver on it has got this really nice pattern on it, so the silver isn't a solid silver, it's a diffused, dappled type of silver thingy. Works nice, I like it. What I'll do is, once I'm done with this video, I will add on a time-lapse with a voiceover and just explain a bit more in regards to the entire setup process and getting everything running, getting everything working, because it is important when we look at that thing as well. But yes, keep in mind, the curved reflector is a pain in the backside to set up the first few times. Once you nail the setup process, it's much easier, much faster. But yes, can definitely recommend 100% the curved reflector for your portrait studio setup, because it is just so useful for the money that you spend. So that's covered all the bits and pieces that you would need for your studio. Your main light diffuser, which is our 80 by 80 Godox softbox kit, which comes with the S bracket. We love the S bracket. Then we've got our light source, which is the 8200 in my specific case, but you can get any other light source that you would require. But I would still strongly recommend the 8200 to get everything running. We've got our light stand included in the kit, backdrop stand with backdrop cloth, in my case grey because I like grey. But yes, so those are all the bits that you would require to get your studio up and running. Cost wise, depending on the light you get, you can be around the 10,000 mark, give or take. You can go cheaper by using dedicated studio lights, but then you do lose the ability to go battery powered, unfortunately. But if you do want to go battery powered, I would recommend the Godox V1 to start with. But if you can save a little bit more money, the Godox 8200 Pro is awesome, especially if you're just doing indoor portraits. I can't complain, works just fine for what I need to do. And I've owned many of them, and I can definitely recommend them to you as well, because they build really well. They last very, very, very long on battery power. This one actually, this one, which is brand new, I bought it specifically for this video. I've used it now for a couple of shoots, and the battery is still at not even half. That is awesome. I like that so much. The battery life on these things is quite nice, especially if you don't shoot it at full power constantly. Never shoot this in full power constantly, because then you're doing something wrong. Always just shoot it at whatever power, but never full power constantly, because it will just drain battery power, and I see no use in shooting it full power. Anyway, there you go. That's your entire studio setup, all the bits and pieces that you would require to get your studio set up. Everything can be bought from the camera stuff. There will be links down below to get all your bits and pieces, get your studio running and getting all your stuff going. So hopefully this has helped you, but if you do have questions, drop them down in the comments, reach out to me, reach out to camera stuff. They are friendly, they do help us, they help everybody, which is nice. But yes, so let's now jump into a time lapse of me setting everything up, taking some photos of Justin, and then vice versa as well. Justin will set up everything himself and take some photos of me, because I need to teach him how to use his studio setup as well. because it is important that you practice. You need to practice setting up your studio, you need to practice taking photos, you need to practice editing those photos. You need to always practice so that when you work with a client, you know how everything works. Do not waste the client's time sitting there trying to figure out how to assemble the curved reflector. They'll get annoyed. You're wasting time. Do that at home, study the thing, get it sorted out, assemble everything nice and easy, make life easy for yourself, make life easy for your client. But anyway, without further ado, I need my coffee mug. I will now add on the little time-lapse thingies, some more information, and I'll do a little voiceover, and we'll see if we can get you guys sorted out and going. Okay, now the voiceover part. So yes, the nice thing about the entire set is that it is so easy to set up, especially the backdrop, because I always like to start with setting up the backdrop itself, because it just gives me a better idea of where I'm going to be putting everything. Because the backdrop will always be the furthest back where my scene will be. Nothing behind that will ever be in the shot, so it just helps me to know where I need to set everything up. So apart from our backdrop, I also need to set up that very annoying curved reflector. But you'll see that with practice you can get it set up quite nice and easily. The straight parts are easy, but those cross sections, oh, they are such a pain to get set up correctly and properly, especially that last one when you put it in, because you need to put a lot of tension on it to get it set up correctly. But yes, it's not that big of a deal, but yes, apart from the curved reflector and background, we also just need to add our little softbox of 8200, and we are basically done. See, it's just that easy, that nice, that simple, and this entire setup, setting up the backdrop, setting up the light stand, the light, the curved reflector, and taking my first test shot, that actually just took about, give or take, 8 minutes to set up everything. So with practice, I got really good at setting it up. Now you will see that even with it just set up the way that it is, it takes up a very small amount of space. So this was just in a very small kitchen area, just half of the small kitchen area we used as a little test site where we could take some pictures, get everything sorted out, and it just worked really, really, really nice. See? Perfect. I like it. Very nice, very nice. Now when it came for Justin, as you'll see, he doesn't actually have a trigger on top of his camera because he only has a Godox flash, the V860 I believe it is. But the nice thing with the Godox flash is you can set a Godox speedlight to also be a trigger, so it doesn't just work like a normal flash. You can also use some Godox triggers or some Godox speedlights, apologies, to be triggers themselves, which just makes it so much nicer because you can just buy a Godox flash, which you will use on your camera anyway, a Godox speedlight. And then once you do move over to using, as an example, of 8200 or such, then you can literally just use that same speedlight as your trigger for the 8200, which is what he is doing, and it's working really, really well, apart from the fact that he is quite bad at framing me correctly. He keeps trying to put me in the middle of the frame, which doesn't work that well. He needs to put me like more or less in the center of the frame to fill the entire frame and remove any weird little spots and such as well. So yes, setting it up, getting him sorted out and such, extremely easy, extremely fast. You'll see we moved away from the backdrop as well, because having more space between your subject and your backdrop means the backdrop goes out of focus much faster, which allows you to not see the creases and stuff that easily as well. So anyway, that was just a fast few minutes of me and Justin playing around, getting him taught to that he more or less knows how things work as well. But yes, it is extremely easy, extremely straightforward, not rocket science, but yes, practice, 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 and you should be good to go. There you go. Hope you guys at least learned one or two things from the entire studio setup, the bits you would require, as well as just in general some tips and tricks that might help you guys as well. So always remember, practice, keep practicing and practice some more. It is important that you know how to use your camera and your lights to get the best results. As an example, for all the studio shots we took, my settings were all at, let's double check those settings. Yeah, mine were all at 1/60th on the shutter, f8, on the lens ISO 100, and those all got me consistent results throughout the little practice session me and Justin had. And it's important that I know these settings because, so I'm just quickly going to one of those photos. Geez, we took so many photos, holy hell. But yes, it is important that we know how those settings are and how they work and how to use them correctly, because that means if I now go to a client and we need to set up everything, get shooting, I do not need to take practice shots because I know my light needs to be at 1/8 power, my lens needs to be at f8, my shutter needs to be at 160, my ISO needs to be at 100, and that will always give me a consistent, correct exposure. As long as my subject stays the exact same distance from my light, I shouldn't have any problems at all. That's important to remember because that means I can set up my entire studio, grab my camera, my client can sit, and I can start taking photos immediately without wasting their time, which is very important. Same thing applies to you. Practice. Know how to use your gear, know how to use your camera, especially know how to use your light. It is very important you know how all of these things work together to get the best results possible from your tiny little studio setup. So, if you've got any questions, drop them down below. I shall leave my email address somewhere upon the screen. You're more than welcome to reach out to me as well. I will help you what I can, but also you can reach out directly to Camera Stuff and you can ask them questions. Their staff is very, very helpful as well, very knowledgeable, and they should be able to get you sorted out very easily and very fast. So from me and from the friendly people at Camera Stuff that sent me a shirt, I still like that. It's cool, a company sent me a shirt. That is nice, I like that so much. So from us all, hope you guys keep doing well, keep practicing, and keep growing. Now, go out there, create awesome stuff, tag me, tag them, tag anybody, show us what you can do. Catch you guys soon.